Hi everybody, welcome back to practice. In today's mobility practice, we'll be working with the shoulders, the spine, and the hips. You'll want 2 yoga blocks and maybe a blanket, and let's begin lying all the way down on our backs. Close your eyes, bring your chin down slightly so that you can feel some length across or along the back of the neck and some width across the back of your skull. And bring one hand, it doesn't matter which one, to the belly somewhere. Let it rest on top of the belly. And breathe in a way that you're sending some of the breath down into the belly so there's rise and fall happening there. And you're not just breathing into the front of the body where your hand is placed, you're also breathing into that lower back area. So think of the entire circumference of the lower torso expanding and contracting as you're breathing. Then change hand position. So you're touching your rib cage, the right and left hand side of it. It's nice to go below the breastbone and touch the front ribs or the side ribs. Place your hands there and then breathe into belly and rib cage. So with the ribs expanding and contracting as well as the belly. So we're really starting to fill out the trunk with breath. And then move your hands one more time, and this is a weird one, but you're going to take your thumbs somewhere into your armpits. Your fingers may rest against your chest. And now you're breathing into belly, into rib cage, and all the way up into the top chest so that you can kind of feel some movement in the armpit region where your thumbs are placed. So you might feel under your thumbs that expansion and contraction happening. And now we have a good sense of diaphragmatic breathing. We're expanding that intra-abdominal pressure as we're breathing. And you can release your arms by your side body. Then bend your right knee so it points to the ceiling. And open your right knee out to the side and then close it back into the midline. So you can think of this almost like we're laying on our back. We're going into tree pose with the right leg, but then we're coming back to knee more vertical. And just opening up that gentle external rotation in that right hip joint. When you open the knee out to the side, you'll be on the pinky toe side of the foot. But when you bring your leg back to the center, you'll feel the sole of your foot ground once again. Then let that right knee fold out to the side and create a little push. So you're pressing muscularly the outside of your thigh and knee towards the floor. So you're expanding that external rotation. And you might feel that your glute muscle, your butt muscle, is firing as you do that, as you press the outer knee towards the ground. Then zip that right leg back to vertical or right knee back to vertical. Stretch the right leg long, switch sides, step your left foot back so the heel is close to your sit bone, and do a couple open and closes out to the tree shape and then back to vertical. And as you next let your knee fold out to the side, add that pressing, that muscular engagement of outer thigh bone, outer shin, outer knee towards the floor. And then you can relax that effort, but do keep your leg in that half butterfly. Join your right leg with your left leg in butterfly. So here is Supta Baddha Konasana, or supine butterfly position. Slide your arms up to a T. And we'll work with the shoulders and the hips at the same time. So arms stay wide, legs stay wide for now. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, bring your legs together. Give yourself a hug with your arms. Inhale, open wide again. Exhale, gather it back together. Can you cross the other arm over the top as you give yourself a hug? So we're alternating which arm is on top. Do this a few times. Move with your steady breath, opening and closing. Then stay in your hug, right? Can you walk your fingertips towards the inner border of your shoulder blade? You might even feel like, oh, I can hook my fingertips along the inside of the shoulder blade. Let your feet be planted, legs together. Take a few breaths into your upper back. So we're spreading the muscle and the shoulder blades in the upper back and breathing into that part. Then open wide with the arms, wide with the legs. Now keep your legs open apart and then cross your arms the other way, opposite one on top. Go back to wiggling your fingers towards the shoulder blades, the inner edge, and take a few more breaths into the upper back. So the chest is closed on purpose to widen across the blades of the shoulders. Then open up wide, arms to cactus. And start to turn your hips side to side. So you're staying in butterfly, but you're twisting your hips one way and then the other. So when you turn to the right, you'll ground the outside of your right thigh, but your left butt cheek will lift off the floor. There's no cute way to describe that. And then when you twist the pelvis to the left, the right butt cheek lifts off the floor. So we're keeping the butterfly open, but orienting the pelvis in a little bit of a twist. And then come back to the center. One more thing while we're here in our butterfly. Press the soles of your feet firmly together, then start to press the outer edges of your feet to the floor. Scoop your tailbone underneath towards your pubic bone, and can you press into the outer edges of the feet and lift your hips just a few inches off the floor? So the butt is hovering, the legs are in butterfly, the pelvis is lifted. You might feel like a little shaking or quivering happening. It's part of the deal. Take one more breath, hips up here. And exhale, slowly lower. Zip your legs together, give them a hug, pressing lower back into the floor and then moving in a side-to-side motion. So you massage across the back. And find yourself centered. Raise that right arm over your head and bring yourself onto your right side. From right side lying, press down and lift up. Come to any comfortable cross-legged seat. And then take hold of the fronts of your knees. So find vertical spine, sitting up tall. And here, sitting on our bottoms, cow and cat. So when you inhale, pull back against your legs, which pulls your chest forward. Give rise to your chin, look up. And then when you exhale, can you like fall back, creating that C curve in the spine? And you're gripping onto your legs to support you in that rounding. Follow your breath so you can feel how your inhale leads you into back bending or spine extension. And your exhale contributes to your ability to flex and to round. I like to do this with arms straight the whole time, but I have long arms. So you might feel like if your arms are longer, you need to bend your elbows, or shorter, that bending the elbows helps you with traction. One more time. Then bring yourself back to vertical. Let's turn this into a twist. So take your right hand across to the outside of your left knee and put your left hand on the ground behind you somewhere. So we're rotated, our spine is oriented to the left. Now, can you cat-cow here, off to the side? Again, you're using that hand bracing against the leg to support you as you round backwards, navel to spine, chin to chest. And you're using that backhand to push off of to create more extension in your back. So how cool are our spines that they can rotate while at the same time doing cat-cow? So there's so many planes of movement in the spine. Find your way back to center, flip it, left hand outside of right knee, right hand behind you, cow-cat here with a twist. I can actually hear, like, it sounds like over here, like I'm in the chiropractor's office. There's little pops and cracks. Maybe you're experiencing something similar. Find your way all the way back to center, so unwinding. Now, place your feet down at shoulders distance. So that's knees vertical, feet on the floor. Then hands go behind you. You're going to rest your body weight back into your hands, so real casual-like. Press down through the hands so you can glide the shoulder blades onto the back of your body. And then start to orient in a windshield wiper pattern with the legs. And you'll notice as you windshield wiper that your spine is actually rotating as well. Start to let your head rotate the same direction of your knees. So we're bringing that rotation from the feet, the knees, the hips, the pelvis, the spine, all the way up to the neck. And now let's add a little something to this. So as you turn to the left, put weight into your left hand, sweep that right arm across the body so you add a side stretch or a side reach. Then come back, place that right hand behind you, orient the other way, lift off through left hand, left arm, and reach it. And when I say reach, I mean reach, like go for it. Ugh. So you begin to open up through those muscles along the side body. So we've got so much happening here. Side bending, rotation, hip opening. Right? Go one more time each way. And then come all the way back to the center. Take your left leg into like half cross-legged and then grab one of your yoga blocks. We're going to do some ankle movement. So the right leg is off to the side on a diagonal. The left foot is placed to the inner thigh. Can you prop your right calf up on top of that yoga block? Which means your foot and your ankle are hanging off. Okay. Then lean over in the direction of that right leg. Place your hands one on top of the other, on top of your shin bone. So you're going to hold your shin bone in position and then circle your ankle. The reason we're holding the shin bone in position is so that we don't recruit the hip to do the work of the ankle. And you can feel underneath your hands, you can feel all those muscles in the shin and the calf working to orient your ankle this way. Switch your direction. Can you smooth it out, slowly rotating? One more, loop all the way around. And then relax that and let it go. Keep your left leg like it is. Step your right foot in front of you. Knee is vertical, this familiar position we've been working with this morning. Let's go into knee mobility. So right arm is hooking under your right leg. Left hand is holding over the top of your left knee. And you lean back so you can get that foot airborne off the floor. Flex the foot strongly, toes pulling back to the shin. And then can you pivot your foot out to the right? Notice how your lower leg bone turns out to the right. Straighten your leg about 3/4 of the way. Bend the knee, bring the heel back down. And then rotate lower leg and foot into the middle. So big toe to the left, straighten 3/4. Do this a couple of times. Rainbow the foot to the right and straighten. Bring it back down, a slow rainbow to the left, straighten. And bring it back down. Let's try rolling it at the top. Turn the foot to the right, straighten 3/4 of the way, and then swivel the foot inward while the leg is straightish. Pull the heel down. Keep the big toe into the midline, straighten 3/4 of the way, external rotation, and then pull the heel back down. One more round, so we're off to the right. Let's straighten with the foot pivoted to the right. Do that roll in and pull it down. Keep it rolled in, straighten 3/4. Do that swivel outward and bring it all the way down. Release your arm from your leg. Bring the right leg half comfortable cross-legged. Left leg's off to the side. Move your block over. Prop the calf up, foot and ankle hanging off. Lean over, weight bear on that shin so it doesn't try to cheat, and then find the circular pattern. And a reminder to notice where your foot wants to go fast, right? Like where it feels like it's skipping over a part of that circular pattern. And those are the places where you really want to focus on going slow. Reversing the direction. Bringing, again, that same attention to, well, where does my ankle want to go fast? Where is it choppy? And can I slow it down in that range? One more loop all the way around. And then release that. Bring the foot in front, that's knee vertical. Reach under the left leg, hold with the right hand over the left knee. Lean back so you get airborne. Flex. Pinky toe left, straighten 3/4. Bring it back down. Big toe right, straighten 3/4. Bring it back down. Pinky toe left, straighten 3/4. Maybe straighten all the way if you can. Bring it back down. Big toe right, swiveling inward, straighten 3/4. And bring it back down. Let's try the rainbow at the top. Turn out to the left, straighten 3/4. While you're up there, swivel, lower leg internal, bring the heel down. Keep it internal. Go back to that straightish leg. Swoop it out to the left. pull it back down. Last round, we're off to the left. Let's straighten that way. Rotation inward, pull down, and then finishing it off. Keep the big toe into the right, straighten 3/4. Roll it out and bring it all the way down. Release all of that. Now make your way to a kneeling position. So we're going to stand up on our knees and shins. And once you have yourself standing up on your knees and shins, take your right leg off to the side. So not to 90 degrees, not like sticking all the way to the right out of the hip, but like there's a little bit of an angle. So it's kind of the angle your leg takes when you do like a yoga squat. And then lean way the heck over, and can you put your right hand inside of your right foot? And right there, you're already going to feel hip opening. Now, if it feels like it's too much, put the block inside of your right foot and put your hand on the block, right? So you're not deepening into that hip any more than feels appropriate for you. Then, can you push the arm into the leg? So you're opening the hip using the strength of arm pushing back, and go top arm up and overhead. So we're using that side bend that we created when we were doing windshield wiper and holding it more static here. If you take yoga, this might feel really similar to extended side angle pose. Take a few more breaths into that left hand side of your rib cage, into the left hand armpit. Then pull through the upper arm like a lever. It's going to lift you all the way back up. Left hand to your hip, right elbow to your right thigh. I always laugh when I do this because I feel like a pirate. Start lunging. Right? And what I want you to pay attention to is how your heel wants to lift off the ground, but you're not going to let it. You're going to keep the pressure of like this heel has a fleshy pad. Keep that fleshy pad of the heel pushing into the floor. So we get to open up the ankles a little more. This is great for the knees. It's also really helpful for lengthening that Achilles tendon, which can be really short down at the bottom of the calf. So next time you take your lunge, I want you to pause there, push the heel into the floor, and see about lifting your 5 toes. The 5 toes clear the floor. Heel skin stays down, knee stays extending forward. Hip stays deepening in its opening position. Take one more breath with that. Then land the toes, pull it back so you're more vertical. Bring right knee under right hip. Let's switch off to the other side. Left leg comes out. It's at a diagonal or an angle rather than straight off to the side. And then you're going to reach down and put your hand inside of the foot. Maybe you need the block instead to bring the floor up a little bit. Arm pushes against leg. That gives you a deeper hip opening. Top arm over. Get into that side body. Breathe generously into right side or rib cage. Into right armpit. Use top arm like a lever, reaching up and back to lift you. Assume your swashbuckling position, left elbow to thigh, right hand to hip. Heel skin stays down. Lunge away and pull back. And the cool thing is that pretty quickly, your lunge gets deeper. So your body starts to go, oh, okay. I'll allow for some deepening of that hinge of the knee, that flexion of the ankle, that inner thigh and groin opening. And bring it into the depth of your lunge. Heel skin stays pressing, toes lift off, so your arch will lift high up away from the floor. A lot of strength along the front of that left shin. One more breath. And pull it all the way back. Release your left knee under your left hip. Now, I'm going to orient to the side for this, but you'll come to kneeling, grab your yoga blocks, and step your right foot forward. So we're going into more of a lunge position. And then you can stand your blocks up as high as you need to pull your hips back. So your right leg is straight or straightish. Right toes are up. Right heel is down. And see if you can put your wrist directly under your shoulders. So that might mean you have to have your blocks pretty high. Think of torso kind of horizontal to the ground. And then press your right heel into the floor. Stick your right butt back and try to spread your toes of your right foot far apart from each other. And see if you can get even the little tiny baby toe to pull away from, I guess that would be the ring toe or the fourth toe. Can you keep that action of the foot spread wide and the right heel pressing and start to turn the right foot out to the right and then turn the right foot in to the left. So this is very similar to what we were doing with the knee rotations or the knee cars, except we've straightened the leg. And so now we are rotating the hip joint. Go into that big external, which is like you're trying to hook or tap the pinky toe side of your right foot to the mat. And then stay there. And breathe into whatever sensation arises for you. And then bring that right foot back to vertical and then go to the big toe side of the foot. Like how deep of internal rotation can you create? Now this should come from your thigh bone. So if your hip starts to stick out, then your pelvis started to try to help your thigh bone. So without letting your hips kick to the right, turn the leg bone in and then pause there. So most of us have a lot more external ability than internal. So you might find that. And then bring that back to vertical. So right foot pointing straight up and down. Bend your front knee so we're going more into a lunge that's like a crescent position. Maybe you walk your blocks forward, standing them up against the inner and outer right shin. And let's work with opening the hip flexors. So the first movement is to stamp your right foot into the floor and pretend like you're trying to slide your right foot backwards. And then the second movement would be to press the top of your left foot and your left knee into the floor and pretend like you're trying to drag that forward. So think right leg's dragging back, but left leg is dragging forward. Tailbone hooks underneath you. So think of a slight tuck of the tail. And take a few more breaths. Okay, now relax your whole body and notice how you sink in a little bit more when you relax your whole body. So you created some hip flexor opening, then you relaxed into it. Now we're going to do round 2. You might find it helpful to lower your blocks. Right foot presses down and tries to slide back. Left knee, top of left foot, tries to slide forward. Keep some semblance of awake in the spine. So you haven't dropped your head. You haven't fallen asleep in the upper body. Tailbone under like a hook. Keep breathing. As you next exhale, relax, get soft, get loose, get watery. You probably sunk another inch or so. Let's do round 3. Maybe your blocks have to come down a little bit. Maybe you find that you're leaning forward even more. Keep upper body slightly awake. Right foot pushes and drives back. Left knee and shin pushes and tries to drive forward. Breathe into that. And relax, get loose and watery. Now let's bring it back to vertical. So what that means is your hips from that dropped forward position will pull back. Right knee is going to be a right angle. Left knee is right under the left hip. Okay. And can you just come to this half kneeling here? Then start to work to tuck your tailbone underneath you. Right? Kind of like you're scooping the left hip bone up towards the chest on the left side. And you'll feel hip flexor strengthening or lengthening. Now go left arm to the sky. Keep tucking your tailbone. Keep pressing right foot and left knee into the floor. And then go into a side bend, up and over. And if you really do that work of like scooping your left butt under you, you can get into there in like some new ways, releasing that hip flexor. One more breath, keep the tailbone tucked, keep the side bend happening. Oh, and come forward and release that. Bring your right knee under your right hip. Step your left foot forward between your yoga blocks. And then go into the depth of crescent that you feel like comfortable in. So it's not your deepest, but you're like right on that little edge. And we're going to go into that loading, that dragging forward and back action. Keep the upper body awake. Now it's left foot that presses down and tries to slide backwards, while right knee and right shin and top of foot tries to slide forward. Breathing the whole time. So continue to work with that breath that climbs all the way up into the armpits, all the way down into your lower belly. And as you're next exhaling, which is a nice point to let go, like let go and let yourself sink into that new space. Adjust your blocks if necessary. Take it to round 2. So once you find that new spot, try to slide the left foot back, slide the right knee, right thigh, and right hip forward, and breathe. As you exhale, can you sink into that new space? And then last round, maybe your blocks come down another level. You might be leaned forward even more. Left foot stamps, drags back. Top of right foot presses, right knee presses, slides forward. Breathe into that. Use your exhalation to soften and get watery. With all that new space cleared in the right hip, pull back so you're in the vertical. It might mean you have to scoot your left foot back a little bit. So right knee is under right hip, left heel is under left knee. Come to standing almost like you're doing a mountain pose in this half kneeling. Then you're scooping the butt under. Right hip is like angling towards your right chest. Can you get into that hip flexor just by like a butt tuck and a hip scoop? Then take the top arm up and add your up and over. And sometimes you have to like lean a little forward or backwards to find the best way to get in there. Drive the right knee into the floor. Keep the buttock hooked. Take one last breath. Holy moly, my body needed this today. And then release. Stack your blocks and pull it back to that half split. So we want to open up the hamstring on this left leg. You want wrists underneath shoulders. So it's kind of like a tabletop-ish shape in the upper body. And you're pressing down through the left heel, trying to drag your left foot back. Now can you flare your toes? So the toes spread away from each other, so you're opening up space between the long bones of your feet. And then you add turning out, turning in, just like we did with the knee rotations, except now it's coming from higher up in the hip joint. Go into turning out. How close can you get the pinky toe side of your left foot to the floor, and just breathe into that sensation. Now try on turning in. How much can you rotate the leg bone inward without letting your hips stick out to the side? So the pelvis stays facing forward in this. And then bring it all the way back to vertical. Bring the left knee back under your left hip. So move your blocks to the front of your yoga mat and bring it into tabletop. And then from tabletop, can you step your right foot outside of your right hand? So it's a combination of lunging with that externally rotated hip work that we did, brings us to this position of like lizard pose. Right? You might need to scoot your back knee back so the weight isn't on your kneecap. It's more above the knee, the lower thigh, lower quad muscle. Take a few breaths here. Hips are heavy. Maybe the chest reaches slightly forward. And take your yoga block, find one of them, put it inside of your right foot. So it's right inside the inner border of your foot. Bring your left arm out to the side like a T and then bend your elbow so you're holding the back of your head. And you'll notice when you go to grab your head, sometimes your head starts to fall down and forward. So push the back of your head into your hands like you're sitting with a headrest. Let's turn this into rotating. So as you inhale, can you open your chest towards the inside of that right knee? Now when you exhale, can you come across and tap your right elbow to that yoga block that's inside of the foot? And start again. Inhale, open wide. Yeah. Exhale, can you tap elbow? Do 3 more here on this right side. Following your breath, keeping your head pressing into your hand so you don't start to let the hand get heavier and compress the neck. Last one, open wide. Exhale and bring it down. Coming back up, move the block off to the left. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Right knee steps back under the right hip. Before we go to the other side, bring your legs close together and do a couple of hip circles. And they can be giant, they could be tiny, they could be ovular, like oval type shapes. Reverse your direction. So if you started clockwise, get into that counterclockwise rotation, or the other way around. And come all the way back to shoulders over wrists. Open up the knees as wide as the hips, and now the left foot steps outside of the left hand. It's turned out very slightly. Edge your right leg back so you can let the hips get heavy in that lizard-like position. Chest is slightly forward. Take that yoga block, slide it inside of your left foot. Left arm to the side like a T, bend elbow, catch the head. There's your headrest. Head pulls up into hand. As you inhale, can you open chest towards inner left knee? Exhale, tap the elbow to the block. Try to keep your right arm straight when you do this. Inhale, open. And exhale, close it. Do 3 more on your own. Last one. Coming up, release the hand from head. Move the block off to the side. Bring it back to tabletop. From tabletop, swing your legs around and let's go into wide-legged position. So any seat with wide legs, and they don't have to be super wide. They can be a little bit of a narrower V, or you could work into a deep V. Maybe your knees need to be bent so that you can accommodate your spine sitting up nice and tall. So pick how you're going to have your legs so your spine can be vertical. And then take your arms, reach them vertically up. So we'll work with some of the shoulder swimmer movements here. From this vertical reach, can you go out to like a diagonal or a V with each arm? Now, bending elbows, interlace hands without letting your hands touch the back of your skull. Pull the outer elbows towards the back wall or whatever's behind you so you get that opening through the chest and the armpits. Release the interlace, reach your arms back up on the diagonal. Go to a T. Rotate your palms back and forth a few times so you're internally and externally rotating those shoulder joints. And like really see, like palms can go up and back, palms can go down and back. Like see what you've got in there in terms of internal, external rotation. And go into palms back. Bring your arms along the sides of you. Can you push your arm bones and your hands back behind you? Now, can you bend elbows and let index and thumb fingers touch back there? So tip of index fingers, tip of thumb fingers, and hold yourself there. And stretch the arms back to straight elbows. Bring them forward a little bit. Raise them up to a T. Do a palm flipping forward. Do up into the V. Go back to that interlaced without grabbing the head, elbows nice and wide. From there, reach up into vertical, and then go all the way out and all the way down. Okay, so when we're sitting up, this is kind of easy, right? Our joints are stacked. There's not a lot of weight bearing on the movement, but what if we leaned forward? So I want you to take yourself into any degree of forward folding. Now, if your legs are super wide, you might want to just check in with that. So you could work with like front splits while you're working shoulder swimmers, or if it feels like, okay, that's going to be too intense, you're welcome to bring your legs a little closer. Hinge forward any amount, right? And then reach your arms vertical, but you're going to feel it differently, right? It doesn't feel the same as when you're sitting up tall when you lean forward. Gravity is working differently. Go out to the diagonal. Bend your elbows, interlace your hands. Don't let your hands touch your head. Pull the back of your elbows. Now it's kind of up towards the ceiling. Go back to the V. Take it out to a T, depending on how far hinged forward you are. That's going to feel real heavy. Internal, external. So roll the palms down, roll the palms up. See what you got in there. Okay, go to palms facing back or up. Bring the arms along the side. Push the hands towards the sky. Bend your elbows. Index fingers touch, thumbs touch. Keep breathing. Straighten the elbows, bring the arms a little forward, raise up to a T, palms facing forward. Go up to the V. Interlace hands behind you, don't grab your head. Head's going to want to drop, so you do pull the head back, but you don't let the palms touch it. Okay, reach to vertical, whoosh. Out and down with the arms, come all the way back to a tall seat. So we kept the inner thighs loaded the whole time. Whew. Okay. Now let's bring it into butterfly with the legs. So we're going back to this Baddha Konasana that we began with. Only we're going to amp it up a little bit. So hold on to your ankles in such a way that you can lean forward, bend your elbows, and connect your forearms along the inner shin. And the elbows might be able to press into the inner knees. Is your spine rounded or is it long? Can you figure out how to make some length in the spine? So it might not be flat back, but there's an attempt to keep the spine long. Then start to push your forearms and your elbows against your inner legs and start to squeeze your legs up into your arms. So if you were gauging this, you would be working at about, let's call it 30% of your ability to push down, 30% of your max ability to pull your knees up into your elbows. And again, breathing the whole time. Now, can you keep your arms how they are, but try to pull your legs towards the floor? And it's like you make enough space between the arms and the legs that you could slide a credit card or a little sliver of paper in there. Then lean forward and connect arms into inner legs. Start your push-pull. So the elbows and forearms press down as the knees and shins pull up. And here you're at, like, let's call it 50% of your max effort. So tuning in to how hard you're working. And you're only working half as hard as you can. Can you take one more breath, working half as hard as you can? Now, try to pull your legs down away from your arms. Can you make that credit card distance of space? That sliver of paper. Last round, lean forward, connect arms into legs. And now we're at 80%. So you're working pretty darn hard. Pull your knees up into your elbows. Press your arms into your legs. Keep breathing. And then try to pull your legs away from your arms and hold them in that pulled away. So you've made the credit card distance of space and you're keeping it. Now with a big inhale, sit up tall. Exhale, fold over, out, and down. Coming into static butterfly. You might bring your arms forward. You might hold on to your own feet. You can also stay holding on to those ankles. And just enjoying. We made the space and now we enjoy the space. Use an inhale to lengthen and an exhale to come all the way up. Let's bring it to hands and knees and have a block handy. So I want to work a little bit more with the spine. So once you arrive in your hands and knees, take your yoga block and balance it on your sacrum. So we do this quite a bit in Mobility IQ class. We do it sometimes in my yoga classes too, where we balance the block on the sacrum. And the block there is good for a few reasons. There's tactile feedback, so you can feel the pressure of the block on that part of your spine. And it also is going to tell us if we're compensating in some way. So can you be level, as if your block is a cup of tea resting on a coffee table? Then consider making your head, neck, shoulders, and upper spine like a statue, super still. And then can you cat-cow just where you feel the block? So everything else is a statue. And you're just letting that sacrum move. So you might feel like your butt sticks out and then it tucks under. And the more you do it, the more mobility you can find there. Again, this is all a conversation between our brain and our body. So the more we do something and tell the brain, hey, keep doing the thing, the more the brain's like, I'll allow it. Now, can you come to neutral? Back to your tea on your coffee table. Reach back with one hand, doesn't matter which one, slide that block up by one distance of block. Right? And then wrists under shoulders. Now everything above the block is going to stay still, like a statue. Everything underneath the block and below is going to move. So you can inhale cow, exhale cat. You can move the place you were just moving through cow, cat. And now you're adding new parts of your spine because you're moving the part of your spine that's under the yoga block currently. But you're still trying to keep everything else statue still. All right, come to neutral. Reach back. Let's move the block up one more time. So we're going up to where like the shoulder blades are. If you're wearing a sports bra, it's where your sports bra probably is. Find statue still for a moment, right? That block is level, it's balanced like tea on a coffee table. And then we move sacrum, lumbar, and what's beneath the block. So that includes shoulder blades. We haven't moved neck yet though. So neck, head, neck stays statue still. And cat-cow everything else, including the part of your spine that's currently under your yoga block. Good. Now neutral. Reach back, take the block off to the side. And we're going whole spine back to hands and knees. Bringing sitting bones up, belly down, rib cage forward, chin lifts. Now we get the neck involved. As you're exhaling, sit bones under, tuck the belly, pull the ribs up, bring the chin under towards your chest. And really go for it. You've worked to create all that fluidity in the spine, and now you can use it. One more round. And come back to a relaxed spine. Then last thing for spine before we get into our frog pose is come to kneeling and have your yoga block handy to you. So we're going to put together the flexing, the extending, the side bending, and the rotation of the spine. Take your block, put it in front of your chest, and wrap your arms around it. If it feels like one block's not enough, you can always do two. It depends, again, how long are your arms, right? And stand up tall like you're doing mountain pose, only you're kneeling. And now we round. So can you round your back? Bring your chin down towards your chest. It's kind of like you're hunched over that yoga block. And then rotate to the right. Turn your block and your chest to the right. Add a side bend. Right shoulder, right hip. Lift up and lean back. It'll feel a lot like cow pose. Side bend, left shoulder, left hip. Rotate to the left. Turn the chest to the left. Come forward. As you're coming forward, start to hunch over and round. Now can you zip back to tall? From tall, hunch forward again, round the back. Let's rotate left to start. Orient chest to the left. Side bend, left shoulder, left hip. Lift up, curl back, there's your cow. Side bend, right shoulder, right hip. Rotate, swivel the chest to the right. Start to lean up and over and forward, coming back to rounded and coming back to center. Then zip up, tall spine. Let's do one more each way. Hunch on purpose. Swivel to the right. Side bend. How up and over can you go? How up and back can you go into your back bend? Side bend to the left. Big rotation to the left. Turn. Bring it forward. Start to hunch over. Then find the center, rounded. Zip all the way back up. Last round to the left. Round, forward and over. Swivel left. Side bend. How big can you make that? Like a banana spine. Up and back into your cow position. Side bend. Right shoulder, right hip. Rotate, swivel right. Start to hunch over while you're off to the right. Then bring it through the center. From rounded, zip all the way up. So tall. Excellent. Block off to the side. And the last working move is the frog pose. So if you come, I like to use the whole length of my yoga mat. You can turn sideways. You might want a blanket along the length of your yoga mat if you need that extra cushioning. We're starting in tabletop here. Then walking the knees way out so they're wider than the shoulders. Then you turn your toes out to the side so you're on the inner border of your feet. And this could be plenty right here, frog. And then sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're like, I want to get down on my forearms. You can come to the forearms. So there's a passive way to explore frog, and there's an active way to explore frog. Passive is what we're doing. We're just kind of hunkering down and hanging out. So let's take a few breaths with passive. Let's now explore active. So how do we explore active? You push your inner knees into the floor and you pretend like you're trying to slide them towards each other. Like you could drag your knees in to touch each other. And you'll feel all sorts of good stuff happening in your groins and your inner thighs. And you breathe in that pushing down and trying to drag your knees in. And as you exhale, you let it go. We go back to watery and soft. You might feel like you sunk in even more. Maybe you move your knees wider apart from each other. Good things come in threes. We'll do this the second time. So actively engaging inner knees, maybe even inner feet into the mat and trying to pull everything in, trying to zip up to the midline. Breathing with that. That hugging in that we always talk about. One more breath, all zipped and hugged. As you exhale, can you get really watery and get more passive and loose? Maybe your knees get farther apart from each other. Last round, press down, drag in. Activate inner thighs, activate groins. Breathe generously into the whole circumference of your torso. As you exhale, let go, get watery. While you're watery, can you lean a few inches forward and lean a few inches back with your pelvis? So we made all that space and we're now in there exploring it. Find your way to a place where you feel like not too much sensation, a more neutral position. If you came to elbows, come to straight arms, and then there's no real cute way to do this. Bring your legs together. Now from here, let's go on to the back. So make your way onto your yoga mat lying down. Have your knees bent and the soles of your feet placed on the floor. Heel toe your feet out pretty wide and let your inner knees touch. So we bring ourselves into the counter movement of that frog pose. Just letting the legs fall into each other. Let your arms rest and take a couple breaths so your body is aware that it's not doing that frog anymore. And then slide your arms to a cactus position. Heel toe your feet so they're at hips distance. Let your thighs pull away from each other. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh, figure 4. As you press your right ankle into your right thigh, think of moving your right knee farther away from your body. Keep that. Turn your hips to the left. Turn your head to the right, twisting. Gently rotate head to center and orient the rest of your body back to the middle. Uncross right ankle from left thigh and switch left ankle bone to right thigh. As you press the ankle into the thigh, the left knee reaches farther away. Keep that action of knee reaching away and turn the hips to the right. Turn the head to the left. As you're breathing, can you do belly, rib cage, and armpits? All of that being expanded and contracted with the breath. Bringing head to center and lower body back around to center. Uncross the left ankle. And then take your legs in for a hug. Can you hold right shin with right hand, left shin with left hand? Big toes are side by side and touching. Open your knees apart so it's like child's pose on our back. Really give the thighs a nice pull in towards your body. Then soles of the feet together, grab your outer ankles into butterfly, but supine, right? So we're like little bats here, soles of the feet together, knees wide. And then releasing the legs long along the yoga mat. And before we take our final resting, do this with your feet. It's like point flex, or kind of shake your feet a little. So you press your heels into the mat and you shake your feet, which shakes your legs and which jiggles your whole body. Think of like point flex, rapid fire. And you get a sense for how much of our body really is liquid. Right? And so we're just kind of wiggling or sloshing on purpose to release any residual tension from the body. We're shaking it out. And then you can allow your feet to get still, the toes and feet turning out, which invites the thigh bones to roll out. Rest your arms how you'd like them. Close the horizon line of your eyes. Bringing awareness back to the breath, the expansion and contraction of it. Allow for some movement in fingers and down in toes. And stretch through your limbs and in any way that feels inviting. Bend the knees one at a time. Roll to rest on your side. And from there, press into the ground and find your way to seated. And center yourself in your seat, lengthening through the spine. Join hands together, a gesture of gratitude and offering, and grateful for the resilience of our bodies, the resilience of our minds, and the resilience of our hearts. Thanks so much for showing up today.